This is From Courtroom to Carline, the podcast where we discuss life as a lawyer and a parent.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Rick.
Your hosts and partners both in the courtroom and in parenting.
Join us as we navigate the fascinating worlds of law and family life.
Now, this is not legal advice, but in every episode, From Courtroom to Carline is a delightful blend of legal insight and parenting hilarity.
Get ready for a roller coaster ride where law meets love and where the gavel meets the car line. Welcome to another episode of From Courtroom to Carline, a legal parenting podcast. Today on the show, we've got my good friend and mentor, Darrin Johnson. Welcome to the show, Darrin.
Hello, Jenna and Stanley.
Yeah, so for our listeners, Stanley is my middle name, and Darrin knows that, and he reminds me of that a lot of times. So.
I wasn't going to say anything about it.
Darrin is a lawyer, a business owner, an entrepreneur. Darrin, why don't you tell our listeners, all the great things that you've been doing?
First off, for the longest time, I'm a servant of the Lord, and so I'm a servant at heart. I'm not without fault. I'm not without sin, as none of us are. But that's who I am. First and foremost, as a servant, and so I try to live life and run the business, things of that nature, according to how God directs me to. And again, I'm not perfect. I've made some missteps, but the goal has always been to get back in line and stay in line. So that's first and foremost, and then everything else falls after that: dad, husband, son, brother, friend, wherever I need to fit in.
I like that. One of the and you talk about your faith, which is obviously very important to you, as it is for me. And one of the things that we've been talking about in my men's group, which is on Monday mornings at Radiant, is, are you chasing status or an identity? Don't chase an identity. Your identity is in the Lord. And then, like you said, you're his servant, and then everything else should fall into place because, so long as you keep your eyes where they should be, he's going to take care of you. So I really admire that about you. It's why I consider you one of my mentors. And I know when I was starting at the public defender's office in Pasco County, you were there and you had the same advice and had the same passion for the Lord as you do now. And so I've always just appreciated that about you. And Jenna and I are trying to definitely instill those same values in our kids. So why don't you talk about, what you've been doing with your little ones, because they're about the same age as ours, what you've been doing with your little ones to, have them have those same values as you do and those same priorities as you.
They are 2, 4, and 6. They love church. Oh my goodness. I'm shocked. And they wake up in the morning. They want to go to church, Sunday school on Sundays. They love their Sunday school teachers. I bumped into our oldest, his Sunday school teacher, at some point earlier this week in the grocery store, and I was on my way home from court or something, and she said, "Hey," and I had to do a double take real quick. She's actually also a teacher, a real teacher. And she asked about him because they have such great relationships with their Sunday school teachers. Your question was, what are we doing? Just studying with them, praying with them. So, we pray every morning before he goes to school. He's the first one out the door with me, either walking him or driving him to the bus stop because it's right down the street from our house. And then when the younger two are going to school, they will call me from the car and we'll pray. And I'm like, do you want to pray? Do you want to pray? Do you want daddy to pray? Do you want mommy to pray? And I'll say, daddy pray, mommy pray, whatever it is. So we're praying with them. And then obviously before meals, either I'll pray or they have. If they're just sitting down for lunch, it's the weekend or whatever, they're outside playing or getting ready to swim or whatever. They have a Superman prayer that my wife taught them that she learned when she was younger. And it's
Yeah, please share the Superman prayer.
My fist. Let me see where my. Okay. Lord, you're flying like you're Superman. Thank you, Lord, for this food. Thank you, Lord, for this food. Our daily bread. Our daily bread. Amen. Let's eat pizza. So, or whatever.
Oh, I
I
love
love it.
it.
That was good. I like that, Darrin.
So that's the compliments of my wife, and then at bed. So in our house, I'm very strict on getting them their rest, so I can do what I need to do. Also, 7 o'clock is bath, books, and bed. So 7 o'clock. The oldest, he will usually jump in the shower, go in there with him and get him situated. He brushes teeth. He's done. He can run back out in the living room for about 10 more minutes of TV or whatever while the younger two get situated. After they get situated, we're in our oldest, his bedroom, sitting on the edge of his bed. Either he's reading a book to everybody or me or mom are reading a book. And his reading is, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Let me tell you, he is reading Cat in the Hat, Sam I Am, Green Eggs and Ham at 6 years old.
Wow.
Without stuttering.
That's awesome.
Without stumbling. And so he usually prays at bedtime. So after we're done with books, he'll pray, and then the younger two will go in the bathroom, brush teeth, and they're down by 7:45 ish.
Now I'm assuming your day is not done once they go to bed.
It depends. Sometimes I have to go back to work, but I've gotten to a point where I don't. Once I get home, I don't want to. I don't want to go back to the office, and I don't want to pull out my laptop and have to do anything. I will if it's something I have to do, or I have to file. Honestly, once I get home, work is the furthest thing away from me. I would rather get up early in the morning, like 3 or 4, and go in the office. Because once I get home, I don't want. I just want to shut it off.
I tell myself that a lot of times because our boys still need us to lay down with them for them to go to sleep. So if we want to get work done at night, we have to, jolt ourselves awake again after, being in the dark, for, what is it, 15, 30 minutes. And so we got to find the energy or the strength to sort of wake ourselves up if we want to get anything done after the kids go to bed. And there's going to be so many nights where I've said to myself, hey, you know what? I'm just going to wake up early tomorrow morning. I'm going to get it done, with no distractions, maybe even make a cup of coffee. And then when that time comes, I can't do it.
But I will say, though, Rick is the one that makes the kids' lunches in the morning, gets all the kids up. So he doesn't really have that time. He lets me sleep in. So I'm very grateful for that.
Of course, I remember, Darrin, when I first started at the PD's office, you were always the first one at the office, it seemed like, and I tried to emulate that. And so, you were always an early riser. So when you were there, it drove me to do that and be an early riser. But then I think when you went to Pinellas and I was still left at Pasco, I found myself falling off. I couldn't keep up. I needed you there to continue to motivate me. And so I think now, again, the motivation to get up early in the morning is pretty much just out of necessity. Like you said, something has to happen or needs to get done.
It's still there. I'm still up early. My first alarm goes off at 5:15, and that's on a sleep-in day. If I'm sleeping in, the first alarm goes off at 5:15. That's so that I can be up when our son gets up because I have his alarm set at 5:45. So
wow.
I want to be up before he gets up and is moving around, and I usually take care of breakfast. Then the youngest will get up 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock.
So I was going to ask you about the 7 p.m. sort of bedtime routine, because ours doesn't start till about 9. And so, but it makes sense because they're getting up at 5:45 in the morning. So, is there a reason or a rhyme or reason for that?
So we're in Hillsborough. School. I don't know what time school starts. 7:05. I don't know what time school starts. He has
Oh, okay.
stop at 6:59. So
Okay.
so that he's not rushing.
Yeah.
I need him up. I need the cobwebs out. He'll grab his tablet. He first thing he does when he gets up. If I'm still in bed, no matter if I'm still in bed or if I have actually gotten up, and usually I'm up. He'll, Daddy, can I watch my tablet? All right, no problem, son. He goes. I give him a little bit of tablet time. About 6:15, 6:20. I'm in his room. Hey, let's move. You know. He makes his bed. Um,
Nice.
he comes in the kitchen. What are we having now? And I've gotten back into training, Rick. You know, I was a personal trainer before I became an attorney, so I've gotten back into training like heavy, like I used to, like
Okay.
when we used to play ball and football and everything. I've gotten back into training that hard. So the kids want to work out with me. So usually it's in the evening when I come home that they'll try to work out with me or do something. But anyway, he's up. And the reason I brought the training up is because I like for them to have some kind of protein. So if I'm making a protein shake, they love protein shakes. You know, orange juice, strawberry, banana, protein, avocado, honey, banana, um, peach, strawberry, banana, whatever it is. They like if I pull out the blender, they're like, I want some, I want some. So it's so I'm trying to incorporate everything that I do. I'm trying to just be a good teacher. That's all. And
You know, you talk about the training, and you've got two boys, right?
one, two
Oh,
girls.
you got a one.
One boy,
Okay,
two
two girls and one boy. Okay, so you talk about the training, and Jenna will show me these immaculate, training facilities that families have turned their garages into. Whether it's a driving range simulator or a baseball, hitting off the tee into the net, weightlifting, what's the CrossFit, they turn their garage into just an immaculate training center, right? And so she'll show me these, and I'll just think to myself, man, that would be perfect for our boys, because we see these, we see that they need physical activity far more than I anticipated. I remember growing up playing basketball, just by myself in the driveway, but just to see the amount of physical activity that they need and why it's important, I can definitely see why you get back into training, because that's going to be something that you can pass down to your kids. Is fitness is important, and it's a way to exercise not just their body but their mind as well.
Yeah, it's shoot. I think it was about 3 days ago, early like Wednesday of this week. I pulled out a yoga mat and I brought it in the house, and I was gonna knock out some push-ups. And as soon as I pulled it out, they're like, "I want to do it, I want to do it," and they go grab their mats, and they don't even know what I'm doing. And I'm like, "Daddy's just gonna do something real quick. We're not working out." And so I wasn't getting the mat out to work out with them. I just wanted to see how many push-ups I could do, and they want to do it. And so I had the two girls, 2 and 4, get underneath me. And so as I'm doing push-ups, when I go down, I will give them a kiss. And then somebody jumped on my back. So I got somebody underneath me, I got somebody on my back, and I'm doing push-ups with a kid on my back, which I never thought I'd be. I mean, you think as a parent, but I'm like, okay, we're doing this. I hadn't planned it, so let's be careful. And so,
How many reps were you able to crank out with your little one on your back?
probably so with her on my back, I knocked out probably 6 or 7 in that instant, and that's twice because the 2-year-old got on my back, then the 6-year-old got on my back, and then the 6-year-old just went to the doctor. He's 90 pounds. I'm like,
Oh wow, yeah.
not
there yet.
maybe, but I didn't want to try it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to try
Okay.
it. Now with your sister underneath me, just in case. So I didn't let him jump on back. But when the 2 youngest jumped on, probably anywhere from 5 to 7, but I had already done 10, 15 at that point, and so
Yeah.
we just were playing around with it. So he wants to get up in the morning, and go for a walk or go for a bike ride. We just got him a new bike and a new helmet last weekend for that. Be it the bands. I let them use the bands. But you're talking about the weight system, the weights at home. Yes, before we were in Pasco, and I had probably 400 square foot gym at the house. And then when we moved, I wanted a 3-car garage for that purpose. Didn't get a 3-car garage, but because of my knowledge and setting up gyms before, I was able to put something on our back porch. It doesn't look out of place or junky or anything like that. It's very tight, but it gets the job done because I much rather work out outside than in a gym. In a gym, I don't sweat. But you get me outside and I get the beat up sweat, the good sweat, that's the fat burning sweat. In a gym, I got to wear a sweatshirt. And I'm not even close to sweating as much as I do at home on the back porch in the environment that I created. So swimming's big. I was a lifeguard while I was a personal trainer before, while I was studying for the bar. So I used to teach people to swim from infants to 82-year-olds.
I did not know that. That's very cool. We're all of our kids now have learned to swim, but obviously it's just so crucial here, especially being in Florida, to be able to have them learn at a young age and just water safety in general.
All of them swimming in the water at 6 months.
Wow. Yep.
I taught them all how to swim. My son was swimming underwater at 9 months.
That is awesome.
We have pictures of him diving down to get rings, or he swimming with me under the water at 9 months. He was swimming 25 yards in a lap pool when he was 4,
wow.
by himself. So it's a big deal, not only because I love to swim and that's what I used to do, but like you're saying, because of Florida. I mean, shoot, not embarrassed, but just it moved me some kind of way. Last weekend, I was working on the pool and I was out in the yard looking at the pool drain, the overflow drain out in the yard, and the kids were on the pool deck, and I could hear them. I'm paying attention to them, and all of a sudden I hear splash, and the 2-year-old had jumped in. And she can't swim on her own. She won't float. She won't turn over. And I heard it. I know what it was, and I popped my head up, and the 6-year-old and the 4-year-old are on the deck, and I'm like, did she just jump in? And like, yeah. I'm like, get her out. And so he jumped in.
Wow.
And picked his sister up. I mean, I was 15 feet away, but outside of the screen enclosure. So I could see the top of her head. And I'm like, she just jumped in? He's like, yes. I'm like, get her. And so he jumps in and lifts her up and pulls her out. And I mean, as they're coming out, I'm grabbing her, and I didn't freak out or anything, but I mean, my heart was gone. Any parent would, and I'm trying not to freak out in front of them, but I pull them all aside and like, listen, this is why we do what we do. You can't let your sister, it wasn't his fault. It was my fault. I shouldn't have. I didn't think she was gonna. I would never think she's gonna jump in. She knows better, but she's
things happen. Yep.
She's getting more comfortable, so she jumped in without a life jacket. I'm like, are you crazy?
That's great parenting, though, for your son to immediately react and be able to get in and take on that role to get her out. So kudos to you for teaching him how to be a great big brother.
He is a great big brother. I would never want to put that on him. The only reason that I asked him to do it, I mean, I could have made it to her, no problem. But the only reason I asked him to do it is because like I said, I could see the top of her head. I could see where she was at, and I knew that he could stand in that portion of the pool. He wouldn't have to go down to rescue her as a lifeguard would have to. All he had to do was just get the next step down from the steps, and he's standing up, and so all he had, just pick her up. And I'm saying this, but you would be surprised how quickly this stuff goes through your head. He's in water. She's lighter. He's not going to have a problem picking her up, and pulling her out. So, I know those things in advance, so it wasn't an issue for me to ask him to get in. But I would never, ever want to put that responsibility on him as a kid, as a brother, to have to save your sister. Oh my God, that was another thing. While I was really calm because I was actually in shock. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do I say to him to make sure that he's not feeling some kind of way?
Right.
You can't. I've lost people, and I've saved people. I've lost people giving them CPR. I've saved people out of the ocean, out of pools. I've saved 2 kids at once. And so that's a heavy. You think what we do as defending people who are faced with life, murder or whatever, is heavy. That's cake. Have the person's actual life in your hand and losing them or being responsible for it, that's a big deal. So part of my quietness and just teaching them was because I was very cautious to not put that pressure on him.
No, and I think it's obviously good of you to tell him that, but like you said, you were there. He was, you knew he'd be okay doing it. Our little one jumps into the pool, and we'll be out there, and he can starting to swim better now. But our older one would, catch him and bring him to the step, and they thought it was a game, but we had to do the same thing. Hey guys, like, you can't always be doing this if if someone's not aware that you guys are out here, because it's just like you said, things happen quickly.
Yeah, we got to put the baby gate. That's just something I'm just anal about. Safety is a big deal. Safety,
Yep.
not just around the pool, but safety period is a big deal because of my background.
So Darrin, sorry, Rick was going to say something, but let me just jump in real quick. So I have seen pictures on, I think it's probably your wife's Instagram, of your son going to court with you. How did he like that experience?
Oh my goodness gracious, I can't talk him out of it. Where do I start? And so the joke is that we become attorneys because we don't like math, and it's not a joke for me. Before I even ever heard that, my major was in undergrad was physical therapy. I didn't want to take college algebra, so I was like, I'm not doing this. So it became legal studies pre-law, and that's how I got to law school, even before I heard the joke. And so, to your question, he knows that mom's an attorney. He knows that dad's an attorney. He had his first trial was at 18 months in Clearwater in Pinellas. I was in trial, and my wife was, she's still staying at home, but she was at home with him, and she brought him to court, and he had his suit on at 18 months, and he's sitting at the defense table, like, and there's a picture of him like raising his hand, and it's like, objection, Your Honor. And so since then, he's had the bug. He's been to federal court with me. He was a month ago. He was in Polk County. I took him to Polk County when he was 3. For some reason, I had to be in court early before he was going to school, and I just brought him with me. And he met the judge, and him and this particular judge hit it off. And I'm telling you, for 3 years, this judge has bugged me. Where's your son? When's he coming back? He was so smart. And so a month ago, before public school started, I brought him back so he could hang out with that particular judge. And so he had his suit. We went around, and what was supposed to be 5 minutes turned into a half a day. Like, we wound up going to lunch over in Polk County because I thought I was going to be done, and I just wasn't. And so he's in the court with me. He has his little portfolio. We went to another judge's chambers to pay a visit. The bailiffs took care of him. He's the man, and I can't talk him out of it. I'm like, son, don't you want to be a doctor or a vet or something? No, Dad, I'm a kid lawyer. So he knows if I got to make a late night run to the jail, if something happens, I got to go to first appearance on a Saturday on the weekend. He's like, Dad, where you going? And then he really gets into it if I'm representing a kid, juvenile delinquency. Because he's a kid lawyer, and he wants to know, is he going to get in trouble? Is she going to get in trouble? Et cetera, et cetera. So he loves it. I mean, he's been in court more than some attorneys.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
So I can't talk him out of it as much as I want to. And so I'm trying to guard him because of that. What we do in particular with the crime, and part of my practice is sports and entertainment. So he gets to see that. I represent a 17-year-old gymnast. I represent a golfer. I represent a child entertainer. It's an adult, but it's a child entertainer with 5 million YouTube subscribers,
Awesome.
who the kids have met and hung out with. So he gets to see that side. But when it comes to the crime and the stuff that y'all know that we deal with, there are certain cases I refuse to take anymore because I have kids.
Yep.
I won't take them at all.
Yep.
I'll hear. I'll get into that in a second, but I won't take them at all. And but he knows. He knows. One of those cases I'm talking about that I won't take. I actually represent, and I've been in talks all week with federal authorities. My client is actually the victim of one of those cases. Not ill. Oh my God, street. Like we might think. But my client is 16, and somebody tried to recruit my client. So my client's the victim. So, but representing individuals in those situations, I can't do it anymore.
So you touched on it a little bit. So obviously you started out doing criminal defense work at the state level, but then you transitioned to doing federal criminal defense work. Could you? And then now you're branching off and doing entertainment law. So why don't you kind of give us the evolution of how you first started out just doing criminal work, and then what led you to want to branch out and do entertainment, because they're obviously two completely different types of law.
One and the same. The goal has always been entertainment law, even before I went to law school. So I was an athlete, played basketball. When I didn't complete playing basketball in college, I was like, okay, I'm going to represent them. So I used to practice with the Orlando Magic, run pickup with them when I was in college, since I wasn't playing, weekend ball, whatever. Once I got to law school, which was in Houston, I had the opportunity to come back and work for the Magic. So I worked for the Magic, did their intellectual property stuff. That plays into sports entertainment. Probably top 3 best jobs I've ever had, because when at lunchtime, my boss and I we would take an hour. He would let us take an hour and a half lunch, and we'd go play pickup with the team, because it was summertime, no ball going on. So we would play pickup with the team, then go to lunch after showering and doing all that stuff. And so it was a cool gig. And then once I got back to school, I have a background in politics also. I worked for the Texas legislature while I was in law school also. And so once I got back to school, I worked for an entertainment firm representing some well-known comedians that, if I said you would know, representing some well-known football players that played for the Cowboys. So the sports entertainment was always a goal. It was never crime. The only reason I got into crime was because, as we know, entertainers and athletes get in trouble on occasion. So the focus was to get a criminal background, so that when if my clients got in trouble, then I could handle that. So for me, it merged together. But the getting into other areas is sports and entertainment takes me into employment, business, intellectual property, financial. It takes me in so many different places, least of which is crime. So I'm trying to get out of crime as best I can. The federal practice was an opportunity that came up. If I'm going to be in filing a trademark or copyright suits or anything like that, more than likely it's going to be federal. So, as a matter of fact, I just renewed my federal bar for the Middle District of Florida yesterday. So the federal practice, especially in crime, is more pleasant.
Compared to the state level?
Yeah, way more. I'm not saying state level is not professional, but it's way more professional. It's like, it's easygoing. And I don't. The words that I'm using when I say easygoing, I don't mean easier. It's just like, the feds have been doing an investigation on you for 3 years. So,
It's a different caliber.
right. You go to trial and win them on occasion, but usually, you know, the feds aren't bringing a charge if they haven't really got you.
Now, has your kids been to federal court yet?
Mm-hmm. Our son has, yeah, yep. Our son has, and the 4-year-old has. She was probably 18 months or so, but yeah, he's been to federal court. They've been in the building.
Well, hey, Darrin, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great. I'm glad your practice is thriving, your family's thriving. Seems like you've got your priorities in order. So you'll continue to be a mentor of mine, and thank you for coming on the show. We do appreciate it.
Darrin, tell our listeners where they can find you.
DarrinJohnsonLaw.com. My practice is out of Hillsborough County. That's where I'm based, but I just got a call this morning from Escambia County. So I practice from Key West to Panama, North Florida, Ecuador, Colombia for the federal cases. So, yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much, Darrin. It was great having you on.
All right. Thank you, Darrin. Stay tuned because we still got our segment on what happened to Florida Man. So stay tuned. Now, on this segment on what happened to Florida Man, again, we're going to revisit this because it's a pending case. But this gentleman was in the Planet Fitness at closing time. He refused to leave and then proceeded to go into the men's locker room and start a fire and start vandalizing the ceiling, the walls. And then when police got there, and this is captured on body cam, they found him naked hiding in a tanning bed. And so he was charged with several counts. The first was exposure of sexual organs, which is a misdemeanor. First-degree arson, that's the most serious count. That's a first-degree felony. And then criminal mischief and false name to a law enforcement officer. The state attorney in this case filed a motion for pretrial detention, and they do that when they don't want the person to be released out on bond or be given a monetary bond. If they're able to get that motion granted, then the individual cannot bond out and they're stuck waiting in the county jail until the case is resolved, whether through a plea or trial. So in this particular case, the state filed a motion for pretrial detention, but the judge denied that motion and he set bond on these counts, $50,000 for the arson, $2,500 for the exposure and the false name to law enforcement, and $5,000 for the criminal mischief. So all in all, a total of about $60,000. So he is able to bond out if he can afford to. And we'll have to wait and see what happens and revisit this case later on down the road.
Unfortunately, it sounds like another potential issue with mental health, but it will definitely be interesting to see what happens.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of From Courtroom to Carline, a legal parenting podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode.